Hi, everyone. Let's give people and attendees an extra few minutes just to join, and then we'll kick off with our webinar with HealthProof, Google Cloud, and CyberProof. Thank you for joining. Okay, so just some logistics for today's webinar. Please use the questions and answers, the Q&A panel, to ask questions at any time. We have 10 minutes towards the end of the session that we'll be answering your questions, but if the questions are really, really good, perhaps one of the speakers will stop during the webinar and answer. We have 3 polls. We look forward to your participation. We're recording the webinar, and we'll send you the link and the slides later, link to the recording later and the slides. And then later in the webinar, please stick around because we have lots of calls to action, the next steps, and a special free offer for webinar attendees. Our webinar experts, they'll be going one by one and joining us, but Hans is the CIO of HealthProof. Josh is our security partner engineer from Google Cloud. Greg is sales director at CyberProof, and Puneet is the one of the extra special security solution and pre-sales architects at CyberProof. So thank you everyone for joining. I'm Jonathan Moreski. I do product marketing, and I appreciate having the brains of the call who are going to be helping me out here. In terms of the agenda, we've just breezed through the introductions. I think we have a very packed schedule, so I'm apologizing for speaking very quickly. Josh is going to tell us Google's SecOps story and their leaps and bounds in the area of security. Greg is going to be talking about how CyberProof provides better security together, also and especially together with Google. And we have a special guest star, Hans, the CIO of HealthProof, will be telling HealthProof's real-life transformation story with the help of CyberProof and Google Cloud. We have a few next steps, as I told you before, and we have some time for Q&A. And as we have a packed agenda, I'm going to kick it straight off into our first poll. So let me just pull up those polls. And you should be able to see them on the screen in front of you. Poll number 1. What is your organization's primary concern regarding cybersecurity in the next 12 months? Choose one of the below. Number 1, growing sophistication of cyber attacks. Number 2, regulatory compliance and governance. Number 3, budget constraints and resource limitations. Excuse me, I'm getting caught in the tongue twisters. Number 4 is the skills gap with cybersecurity talent. And number 5 is the expanding digital footprint, cloud, remote work, and all of those new exciting AI, et cetera, et cetera. So again, the poll has been up for 45 seconds. I'm going to leave it up a little while. And I'll be able to show you the results afterwards. But in the lead at the moment with almost 30%, it's changing all the time, but there's a lot of people that are interested in the sophistication, regulatory compliance and governance, budget constraints. I'm going to end the poll because I know that we're short on time, and move back into Josh's slides. Josh, why don't you take it away?
Alrighty, awesome. Thank you, Chair. All right, so just to kind of set the stage, hello, everybody. My name is Josh Van Wagner. I am a partner engineer with Google Cloud Security. I'm super happy to be joining the CyberProof and HealthProof teams today to talk a little bit about our mission at Google and our vision with security, as well as our Better Together story and how we're building that and truly elevating our partnerships and collaborations with MSSPs like CyberProof to tackle this ever-evolving landscape. As Jonathan said, there's a ton to cover here in this hour, so I'm going to get right to it. So before diving into the Google Cloud Security vision, it's worth mentioning that Google is known for many things, including, of course, search, YouTube, Gmail, Google Cloud, but people don't always think of Google as a security company. But we actually keep more people safe online than anybody else in the world. For example, we know that phishing, a very common tactic used by threat actors to orchestrate cyber attacks. Gmail blocks over 100 million phishing attempts daily. Obviously, another big threat is malware. Google Chrome safe browsing scans billions of files each day, identifies malware, risky sites, and protects over 5 billion devices daily as well. And Google, a couple of years back, also blocked the world's largest DDoS attack. And from that, was built Project Shield to defend media websites from such attacks. I'm going to go to the next slide, Jonathan. So over the last few years, we have been hard at work bringing that magic of Google to our security operations. We're often not the first. Obviously, Google wasn't certainly the first search engine. Gmail wasn't the first online email service, and Google Maps wasn't the first map service. But at Google, we've always approached these challenges with a new way of thinking, a new scale, usability, and innovation. And we're doing the same for security operations. Next slide, Greg, or Jonathan, thank you. So to set the stage, as many of you on this call are probably acutely aware, security operations is notoriously difficult. Most organizations fall short or well short of their expected outcomes with security when it comes to threat detection, investigation, and response. So at a high level, we can group those SecOps challenges into these three main topics, really. There's never enough data and context to truly detect and understand the volumes of threat actor activity in your network. Limited attacker insight, without a deep understanding of that threat landscape that target your specific organization and those tactics and techniques that those threat actors use, organizations are truly searching for that proverbial, needle in a haystack, if you will. And the manual nature of SecOps processes today, coupling with the ongoing talent shortage, it leaves SecOps teams understaffed, overworked, and certainly overwhelmed. So, most organizations can't hire enough skilled experts to get the job done. Next slide. So what are we doing about it? We're trailblazing a new, modern approach to SecOps based on 3 pillars. Scale without limits, so leveraging, Google's true scale and speed to eliminate those legacy trade-offs between cost, scale, and data coverage. So with Google SecOps, you can ingest and analyze massive amounts of data in a scalable, cost-effective way. Intelligence-driven outcomes. So Google applies its unrivaled threat intelligence and understanding of threat actors to help all organizations uncover those threats, without the requirement for that intensive custom engineering that a lot of us are used to. And AI-infused productivity, right? With the ongoing shortage that we mentioned, organizations, they simply can't hire enough skilled, security experts. So Google SecOps is leading the way in leveraging both AI and automation to elevate the skills of those security teams and make everybody more productive. So Google Security Operations Platform offers, a unified integrated experience for threat detection, investigation, and response. So this is including a fully fledged SIM, SOAR platform, and threat intelligence, and more. It's built on, again, Google's hyperscale infrastructure, and it does leverage applied threat intelligence and AI. And we'll go through some of this in the next few slides. So as mentioned, built on, our hyper-scalable infrastructure, SecOps can scale to handle any amount of data without compromising performance or breaking the bank, right? So, legacy SecOps platforms are designed for on-prem environments. Obviously, we're all well aware that many of them have lifted and shifted their products to the cloud, but they're still plagued by scalability challenges, posed by growing volumes of telemetry and that need to be analyzed. So Google Security Operations offers, a true cloud-native, hyper-scalable security data lake, if you will, that results in better security operations because of its ability to, search quickly and get results in seconds instead of, hours or days in some cases. And Google's scale allows it to deliver more results with much more context. Detect more. So our scale allows us to auto enrich and run analytics and correlations on all events coming in. So you can detect more threats and investigate more effectively. We scale to surface 200 times more alerts per rule than other competitors. And then retain longer, right? Google SecOps by default retains 12 months of all data as hot data, all searchable data, which is 4 times more than our competitors, I think. And it's allowing teams to, retro hunt on that data for threats and investigate with more context. So all data that is ingested, is retained, is searchable. Next slide. So as mentioned, our unified SecOps platform does include a fully fledged SOAR platform. So you can easily build playbooks, automate common response actions, things you would expect from a SOAR. Simple drag and drop. There's a lot of new developments being introduced in the platform monthly, really, with the addition of Gemini and SecOps and some awesome improvements that are coming down the pipe as well. We also have advanced features in there like parallel actions, version control, nested playbooks, etc. And you can orchestrate over 300 tools as well. Think your EDRs, your identity management, network security, things like that. And you can obviously collaborate with other members of the team using our auto documenting case wall. I think of it as your breadcrumb or your audit trail. That could also be exported for further investigation or reporting. And then track and measure the effectiveness of your teams, so your response efforts such as analyst productivity, MTTR, and communicate those with your stakeholders. And we'll talk a little bit about that applied threat intelligence and what that looks like. But before we go there, I did want to briefly touch on just the sheer breadth and depth of Google's threat intelligence, which is truly hard to match, right? Full access to Google Threat Intel is included as part of our Enterprise Plus package. And that includes frontline threat intelligence from Mandiant. You see some numbers there. VirusTotal, the world's largest threat observatory and crowdsourced intelligence. You see some massive numbers there as well for the analysis every day. And Google Threat Insights, which we derive from securing those billions of users and devices running Chrome, which we protect from malware and phishing attempts. In addition, you can definitely integrate your own third-party threat intel feeds as well into Google SecOps just to get that additional information to use for enrichment and investigation. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about applied threat intelligence for a second. And it helps you get outcomes from integrating, threat intelligence with your SecOps data with little to no engineering on your part. So when it comes to threat intelligence integrations, there's basically 3 questions organizations are aiming to answer. What threats truly matter to my organization? So, out of the countless threats out there, which one should I care about the most? Traditionally, this has been hard to do with limited threat intelligence and honestly the complexity of integrating those and customizing that data. But with applied threat intel, we bring that latest threat intel data to you, including the most recent findings from Mandiant. And we enable you to customize a threat profile that's relevant to you, your organization, your industry, and whatnot. Are we impacted? So this has been, challenging as traditional integrations only enrich data with threat intel when something is matched, right? So this results in endless IOC matching lists that are so noisy that eventually analysts will simply ignore them. So in addition to almost all organizations do not have the skills or the resources to constantly, create those new detections to keep up with that landscape that's, always changing. So with that applied threat intel, you can scale Google Sec and the scale of Google SecOps. All of your data that is ingested it's enriched at ingestion time. So not just IOCs, just think threat actors, campaigns, etc. All of that is given to you on ingest, so you have a full threat context at your fingertips for search, investigation, detection, authoring, etc. So, and we also have our Google Cloud Threat Intel team, which is pumping out those curated detection packs as well, so that you can put those to use in your organizations and get those detections immediately on day one. And then, can we be impacted, right? As many of you on the call are also probably aware, every CISO, after a breach, gets asked, can this happen to us? And once again, very, very challenging question to answer, right? So with some of these enhancements with applied threat intelligence and some of the things coming down the pipe, we're constantly surfacing those new and emerging threats and providing visibility of your level of protection, including what detections you can deploy, to detect those threats, right? And we're also adding security validation integration to simulate these attacks in your environment and uncover those gaps in your security controls to really provide, actionable recommendations and what you would need to do to be better protected. So Just briefly under the hood, a lot of this might be a little repetitive, but as you can see here, by default, it enriches all 12 months of the telemetry stored in Google SecOps with all threat intel information. Again, not just IOCs, and that's on ingest. So all that information can be used in all of your investigation, detection, and response workflows. And you can also use Gemini and SecOps to ask, am I being targeted by a specific threat actor group based on the data that's ingested in your platform? Continuously matching new intelligence, so not just against your newly ingested data, but also against your older data as well, and surfacing those findings. You can use machine learning to prioritize your matches, and also factoring in, in your environment for personalized results. And again, we're still churning out those new detections continuously to tackle those new TTPs and curated detections. And then surfacing all of these prioritized alerts, and includes active breach intelligence and active, incident response investigations from Mandiant as well. So a ton of information that gets given to you directly on ingest. On the result of that, it's a turnkey outcome in the form of a prioritized list of threats that have the highest potential impact to you, and complete with the full context needed to actually investigate and respond to those. In addition to that, you can also use the threat intelligence that is ingested to enrich and craft your own detections and custom searches as well. Okay. And then a couple just to note on, so Gemini and security operations, a lot of awesome stuff coming down in the near future, but as it stands today, Gemini and security operations really is helping augment, our partners' security and our customer security teams, and making their lives easier right now with assisted investigation, right? So you can see there the AI-powered capabilities. So, through investigation, there's great case and search summarizations from Gemini to give the user or the analyst a fantastic view of what they're looking at and potential, ways forward and what else to look for. Natural language search. As everybody knows, with any platform, there's a learning curve to learning the query languages, things like that. With Gemini, you can literally just give it a sentence, find my X events from this host in this time frame, and it'll write that search for you. And then contextual investigation assistance, malware analysis, and things like that. In the detection side of things, we have our ML-based confidence score, as well as our, again, natural language detection rule creation. So you can really give it a prompt and it will spit back out a URL query for your detection rule. And then on the SOAR side of things, recommended actions, natural language playbook building, which is huge as well. So, giving Gemini some information on what you would like to do in a playbook, and it will build that playbook for you. And then on the threat hunting side, it's providing threat summaries, natural language threat hunts again, and the future is looking very, very cool with what we're going to do with Gemini going forward. And lastly, recent analysis research kind of validates that we're doing something right. In January of 2024, we made our first ever appearance on the Gartner SIM Magic Quadrant as a visionary. And then in September of last year, we made our first appearance on the IDC SIM MarketScape, and we're named a leader as well. So with all that said, we're working very, very hard, right, to enable our awesome MSSP partners like CyberProof to deliver these top-notch services, combining these cutting-edge technologies from Google Security's portfolio of products with their platforms and services. And, with our partners and customers top of mind, the advancements with AI automation in our platforms is really leading the way and elevating, their security teams, and continuously improving and introducing new features to help augment those skills and increase productivity across the board. Obviously, there's still a very much needed human element to all of this. And, we're aiming to just make life easier for these teams, right? And with CyberProof and Google, we have built, a very strong partnership over the years. And they are positioned very well to provide end-to-end cybersecurity solutions at the scale that I get at the Google scale, right? It's a great example of a partnership, built on a foundation of trust, collaboration, and honestly, with CyberProof, oftentimes contributing and trailblazing the advancement and development of net new and partner-centric features within our platforms, especially SecOps and the SOAR side of the house. So truly embodying that, better together philosophy, and the future is very bright. I'm very, very excited. So due to the sake of time, I'm happy to pass the mic over to Greg, to kind of continue with CyberProof's vision. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Josh. So I'm going to quickly jump into the second poll just before we go over to Greg. And poll number 2 is, one second. Why is this? Okay. There we go. Launching it. So what webinar content are you interested for us to create for you in the future? So would you like more Google security content or deep dive demos into Google Threat Intelligence or SecOps or Google SEC or other similar things? Would you like more cyberproof content and or the deep dive and the demos into cyberproof CTEM capabilities and other cyberproof capabilities, or other defense management services like MDR, MXDR, use case management, or more cyberproof exposure management services like vulnerability management, data security, cloud security? Greg's going to be talking about that in a second. We've also in the past done SOC masterclasses, deep dive sessions with cyberproof experts and industry leaders like industry analysts. And we've also done in the past, and we can do in the future, thought leadership webinars with analysts and threat intelligence experts and things like that. And if there's something that I haven't covered above, please tell me, and we'll be happy to reach out to you, and we can discuss together. So I'm going to end the poll in the interest of moving along quickly. Hope you guys don't mind if you've managed to. Hopefully you've managed to vote, and I'm going to share the results. And moving straight along into Greg, please take it away.
Thanks, Jonathan. Hi, everybody. I know that the highlight of this discussion really is Hans for HealthProof and Google, because there are honored guests, and especially Hans because he's going to be able to talk about real world implementation, which I'm sure is exciting for everybody. The cyberproof piece of this is exciting to me and to many of our customers, because we do some different things, like we do threat-led co-managed services. So what does that mean? Well, there's a lot of MSSPs out there and other service providers that basically take over. So you have two choices. You can either let them take over, or you can do it yourself. We actually do the combination, so it's a hybrid. So we work side by side with you across all of our services. And so whether it's vulnerability management, MDR, or any other service that we might provide, SIM, SOAR, we work with your teams in a co-managed capacity. So that's kind of our thought process, and has been for a long time. I know that's kind of gaining speed, but that's where we are. Next. Just a little bit about our parent company, UST. I think this is important. UST is a couple $1 billion company of about 35,000+ employees in 30+ countries, and it's UST is basically an IT service delivery company, and I think the important piece of this is that they recognize not only the core processes that IT use, but also when they determined that cybersecurity was really an important piece of the entire ecosystem, that they launched CyberProof. One of the key claims of fame is in that couple $1 billion, we really have marquee customers that have been with us, some of them for 24 or 25 years. We've won many multi-hundred million dollar deals with our customers, and we focus on them, so we build long-term relationships. Next. CyberProof was launched in 2017 because of what I just mentioned, and we're about 1,000 employees. We have 5 global SOCs and a bunch of enterprise customers. And basically what we're able to do is provide a broad and capable and depth of services across cybersecurity. And we seamlessly work with our parent company, UST, to deliver holistic solutions. So many times a cyber company has to deal with IT type of services that interlock or overlap organizationally or process-wise. What we do is we actually provide those services seamlessly to our customers. And so if you're talking about one of the key aspects like vulnerability management, which leads to patch and things like that, those cross the bounds of cyber as well as IT, and we seamlessly provide those services. So CyberProof is a cyber-focused organization, but we work with our parent company, UST, to deliver services. Next. So what does that mean? We believe in transparent and dependability and human-first experiences. And the result of those is what we call better security together. But how do we deliver that? Well, it's cloud first, AI powered, and we focus on our customers' core businesses. And so we're able to provide a holistic set of services that are just in time, whether it's advisory or it's technology in the case of Google, and some of our other partners. And you'll see that at the end of my piece here with a little architecture diagram. But the bottom line is that we talk about better security together, and that's what we deliver. Next. So you guys live this every day of the week. I can't really tell you much about this other than to set the stage that we're all on the same page, which is there's a lot of challenges that organizations face, whether that's AI based, whether it's interoperability, whether it's ransomware, whether it's noise, because there's a lot of noise that's out there. Tools are a lot better nowadays at picking up alerts, and that's a good and a bad thing, of course. Sorting them out and solving them is a whole different set of issues. But there's tons of regulatory compliance, interoperability, and there's a lot of resource issues that you guys deal with. You live in a complex environment, and so your vendors have to also be able to work in those complex environments and help you solve problems. And so we like to say that we help our struggling teams and our partners, but this is again a better security together solution. Next. So what's that approach? Well, simply on the outside ring, we call it identify, protect, and detect. But what that means is you guys have an estate, which is all of your assets, and you have potential exposures. And so those exposures lead to certain aspects that you guys have to remediate. But more than that, you don't want to just remediate problems, you want to defend. And so there's lots of different ways to defend. You guys have lots of tools. We have a bunch too, but the right tools are what's needed, along with the right processes and procedures, frameworks, and so on. And that's what we're about, holistic frameworks. So whether that's GRC and measurable results and security postures, all the way out to the outside rings. Next. So how do we actualize that? So obviously defense management is a pretty key piece of this, but we start with what we call our Reveal 360, which is a combination of all these particular tools. You're going to see in our diagram in a slide or two the pieces of Google and other aspects of other tools, connectivity with APIs and other solutions that you guys have in your enterprise. And so Reveal 360 lets us drag all those things together under an umbrella and provide you visibility and capability that you wouldn't have already natively. We do that through a defense management and posture perspective. Also, exposure management. You're going. Puneet is going to talk a little bit about continuous threat exposure management. But basically, what that allows us to do is it allows us to understand your landscapes from a threat perspective and a defense standpoint, and do the overlaps. And Puneet will talk about that as well as identifying where you do or don't have controls in place. We also augment that with significant threat intelligence. Josh mentioned the Google threat intelligence and Mandiant and many aspects that we have where we connect all the dots together. And were we to show you a demo of SecOps, what you would see is an integrated solution that includes threat intelligence all the way through the operational aspects of use cases and playbooks, because consistency in delivering the solution or remediation is key. How you get to that is a little bit of a mystery in most places, but we do that through understanding our exposures, building use cases, and then augmenting our defense management with those use cases and playbooks through the operational process of like Google SecOps. So we also do transformation at the bottom there. We transform on-prem to cloud, from cloud to cloud, from cloud to on-prem. We pretty much do all of them because customers have different solutions that they need. Next. Just a minute about our Google partnership, because we cherish it and it's fantastic. We're one of Google's top global cybersecurity vendors. And Google is obviously a force in the marketplace. When you pick out who is spending the kind of money and has the breadth and footprint in the AI space, clearly one of two or three is Google. This is a very key set of capabilities, and they're being massaged and developed every day. And so new and better is coming out on a daily basis. We have some of the first deployments of cloud SIM and SOAR enterprise plus opportunities. Hans will talk about one that we helped with at HealthProof in a minute. Also, we have quite advanced capabilities with Google and are working on them every day from an AI standpoint with Gemini. And we have over 500 technical certifications. So you'll see that across products. So even though we're talking about Google today, if you have in your stack Splunk or QRadar or Logarithm or something like that, Cribble, we have certifications on those tools because our customers need us to. And we're not about really selling products as much as we are delivering services. Next. This is my last slide, but it's busy, so I apologize for that. But what you'll see there is a key, which is Google, Gemini, SecOps in the middle there. You have pipeline like ObserveIQ and Cribble and things like that. You have infrastructure there. On the left-hand side, you see it's tied all the way up with our Reveal 360 visibility, tying all these things together. And then there's all kinds of different products and APIs that are out there to the different tool sets and capabilities that you already own, so that you have quick and straightforward integrations with a great deal of visibility and depth. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jonathan.
I'm on mute. I'm going to turn that straight over into Hans. I'm very happy to have you, Hans. I know that, Hans, you wanted to share your own slides. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I'm going to stop my share.
Second.
And maybe this is a good opportunity to say that we'll be moving into a new webinar platform called BrightTalk, and hopefully that will reduce some of these interim transitions from slides to slides.
see if it's going to do this. Need to know which screen you're actually at. It's not doing the right one. Give me just a second. I apologize.
No problem.
Technology is great.
Yes.
That's the one. All right, so you should be able to see my screen, I'm hoping.
Yes, looking good.
Excellent, and it's got the laser pointer on it as well.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Hans Gilbo, or I guess it's not quite afternoon yet, it's still morning. I am the CIO for UST HealthProof. We are one of the consumers and clients of both CyberProof as well as Google SecOps. And I just want to take a few minutes to kind of talk about what our journey is. And just a little bit about UST HealthProof. So we are a roughly $500 million organization servicing 55 different healthcare clients, servicing about 9 million plus members and lives. And we are a BPaaS primarily service. We're basically the end-to-end solution from the provider. When you go to the doctor or the hospital or whatever, you go to the provider's organization, from the time that they submit the claim or the information regarding your visit all the way through the insurance system out to the payment. We're pretty much that middle section, that bubble that you see here in the middle, right? The payer's existing infrastructure. We take all of these services, whether it's CRM, provider contact, member portal, claims, processing, etc. We run it and basically become that central existing infrastructure and run it through that process. So we do business processing as a service. We also do some software as a service. We're continually upgrading our services and our microservices. We basically are the one-stop shop for all the health plans. So obviously security is important because we deal with a lot of PHI and a lot of PII. And in a second, it's not letting me advance. There we go. Because we have so much PHI and PII with us, we've got a lot of security and compliance that we need to worry about, whether it's HIPAA, whether it's our SOC, whether it's high trust. You know, we have a dedicated team. Security and the compliance is the big thing for us. So we need a comprehensive solution from a security operations perspective to tie all of this together. We've got an overall strategy, right? Whether it's awareness, whether it's risk prevention, data management, access control, auditing, monitoring, that's all great. That auditing and monitoring kind of comes into play here, at least from a security operations perspective, because we have to layer all of these strategies and activities into one operational framework so that we can quickly react to and also be proactive on potential threats, potential issues, alerts, anything of that nature that pops up. So some of the common challenges that we all face, and this is going to say that it's geared more towards payers, providers, life science, but in reality, it's pretty much any part of any organization that's out there that has IT deployed, right? So there's still a big issue with ransomware, cyber attacks. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. Unfortunately, from the healthcare perspective, our ransomware and cyber attacks continually increase between 23 and 24 and even to 25. We're looking at for 25, but there's been a 50% increase in cyber attacks, most of them being ransomware. The healthcare industry is a huge target. Rapid growth from our industry's perspective. There is just continual business growth, research, market growth, new implementations across the healthcare landscape. It's really hard to keep up. You know, we all talk about the fact that there are lack of resources, lack of sufficient resources, I should say, in the security space. That rapid growth only compounds that for us. There's a widespread reach. Everybody loves to talk about Gen AI, and I know that Gemini is in the Google SecOps piece, and it's great. It's fantastic. It really helps improve the efficiency of the organization and the efficiency of the security operations team. But on the flip side, script kiddies now become potential threats because they simply need to ask Gen AI, even though there's supposed to be security guardrails in place, how do I execute such and such attack against a potential vulnerability? And Gen AI spits it out. And now these script kiddies have legitimate scripts that they can run against our organizations, not to mention the formal threat actors who are actually organized, whether you're talking organized crime or nation state. They now have an entire library of information and automation at their fingertips to allow them to pivot and adjust and customize based on what your organization looks like. I already mentioned the increasing frequency of attacks in the healthcare industry. The threat landscape, so these bottom two are kind of twofold, right? The threat landscape and exposure to the attack surface, it continues. We also have shadow IT of some kind in our organization, whether it's a product architecture team that's building a new POC that we just didn't know about, or whether it's a full-blown implementation that security or other parts of the organization didn't happen to get included in. That landscape is continually growing. It's always going to be there. It's ever present. We need to figure out how to get our arms around it. And then from our perspective, from the healthcare industry, it's the interoperability of systems, the ability to actually transact and transmit and share data between systems without having to do a full data transformation on it. That causes potential gaps, potential openings for potential vulnerabilities. So our specific challenges with all of that already there, was we were multiple companies that have come together as one through merger and acquisitions. So we had an uncoordinated approach. While we still had technically a single security operations and a single security program, they were bifurcated or disjointed segments operating effectively in an independent situation, right? So we had an uncoordinated approach. What was happening over in the suite of systems A didn't necessarily correlate to the suite of systems in section B. We had too many vendors, too many operational inefficiencies. When you're running at least 3 different SIMs under 3 different processes in 3 different log collectors going to 3 different evaluation systems, there's no efficiency there because it's uncoordinated, it's bifurcated, it's segmented, which increases the ability or potential for errors, right? There's no real-time visibility. There's no quick, easy coordination of data. If I'll just use the example, if I'm traveling for a conference and I log in from a new location, the system should detect that I'm logging in from a new location and also be able to correlate all of that information through all of the different systems that I potentially have access to see. Did Hans actually log in to email from this location as well as, say, one of the cloud applications or one of the security operations implementations, or even a server? Does it all correlate that it's from the same location? We didn't have that visibility. So it was cost ineffective, and it was a duplication of effort and spend. The goal then was to increase our efficiency, reduce our costs, reduce our technology footprint, and improve the accuracy. There's a bunch of different ways that we could have addressed that, right? Efficiency, I could throw more people at it, and that's not necessarily the most efficient way to do it. Identify the processes and try and get them to be all on the same page. That works so long as the systems are the same. So now we have technology footprint that's redundant, that's still not the same. Accuracy is not going to improve because you still have bifurcated systems. So we reached out, and I apologize, I know I'm going a little quick. We reached out to CyberProof to create a partnership with them, along with the Google SecOps implementation. The number one rule that I had, well, there were 2 rules that I had in play. Number 1 rule was it could not affect our compliance requirements, primarily our high trust requirements. So we were actually in the middle of re-auditing, renewing our high trust certification. We were able to implement within roughly about a 6-week time frame from an onboard perspective. But I also wanted to make sure that while we onboarded and we maintained our high trust certification and other regulatory requirements, that we also we did not have a drop in service. So basically, we duplicated the service. So we actually ended up adding a fourth for a little bit. But we took 3 SOCs, 3 SIMs, and we combined them, consolidated them into a single a SOC overseen and managed by CyberProof on our behalf. So they are our MSSP, utilizing the Google SecOps Enterprise Plus platform, which, by the way, we were one of the first entities to implement that. This may not seem like a lot, but we took 30 plus unique log sources from AWS, Azure, SaaS, on-prem, and we're able to migrate them into the security operations. Now, 30 plus log sources, when we talk about unique sources, we're talking about anywhere between 6,000 to 7,000 different unique types of log sources. We had 120 plus custom rules that were written. So kind of going back to what Josh talked about earlier, where you bring the Google threat intel, the Mandiant, and the virus total. We were able to take a lot of those, I'll call them out of the box rule sets, and customize them. And then utilizing some of the AI, we were able to customize it even further, particular to our environment and our organization. And as a proof of concept, which moved to production, we started at about 20 terabytes a month of ingestion. So kind of going back to where Josh started and Greg even added on, right? The scale, the volume, and the speed of Google, right? 30 log sources, unique sources, I'll call it 7-ish thousand unique devices, customized rules based off of AI, based off of training. I should say training, but it's training and learning from the SOC team, the new SOC team from CyberProof supporting my level 2. And then the overall ingestion of data, which I know we're at that 20 terabyte, and sometimes we've touched on it, and sometimes we've dropped down a little bit. So that partnership with CyberProof has allowed us to transition out of multiple service providers. We established a unified SOC. Again, we've got the Google SOAR, the AI, the customization, the automation to help us tailor our rules, tailor our playbooks, tailor our responses. The Google Threat Intelligence platform has been very huge for us. We've been able to do a lot better correlation, not only from what's going on in the environment, but correlating back to, is this identified potential threat a high risk, or is the risk level lowered because of the mitigation steps that we have in place, and based off of what actually exists in our environment. The Gemini advanced language capabilities, AI, like I said earlier, while AI, everybody wants to talk about it, and it can be a real good tool to be utilized, and the threat actors are using it for nefarious reasons. The flip side of that is we're able to go into the Google SecOps platform and pretty much write out what it is that we're looking for. Show me all the times that Hans has logged into his account over the last 30 days, and break it down by location and by time frame. It'll actually do that, as opposed to having to learn 3 different query languages and remembering which one to apply to particular SIM or particular SOAR or the particular log correlation. The playbooks have all been customized according to how we're set up. And our mean time to respond has increased as well, based off of the ability of what CyberProof's got eyes on glass for us, as well as the integration of the AI piece. So some accomplishments for us. Like I said earlier, this is one of the first MSSP deployments of the Google SecOps Enterprise Plus. We connected roughly 35 log sources. We were able to create customized parsers that weren't previously available in our other collectors and our other SIMs. We built out the detection rules and customized the playbooks. We're now a full 24/7 MDR service. And our SOC team was able to be trained, and the supplementary SOC team had been able to be trained based off of resources, the playbooks, in a much faster time frame, and they were able to actually customize some of the detection rules and the alerting rules based off of the ability to ask simple questions to the Gemini AI piece. So the last thing I want to kind of leave you guys with, and we really did this when we ran, sorry Greg, when we ran CyberProof through the ringer, right? Is we really hammered them on pretty much these 5 principles, and then it ended expanding as we got deeper into it. But things that you're going to want to ask your cyber vendors, especially if you're looking for an MSSP. And these are the things that were asked. How do you integrate with our existing security stack and workflows? In other words, going back to those log sources, can you integrate with my entire security stack? Can you integrate with all of my log generating sources? How do you apply that? How do you correlate that? Do you use, and if you do, how do you leverage AI or Gen AI to improve threat detection and response? I've been to several conferences over the last 6 to 8 months. And when we get into the security operations discussions, they talk about how AI is great to search, but how do you use it to recommend improvements to the playbooks and to your alerts and to your responses, or even your SOAR automation? How do you ensure regulatory compliance and provide audit-ready reporting? I said this is a partnership, and that partnership actually reaches all the way out to Google as well, right? It's not just with us in CyberProof, it goes out to Google. Historically, when it comes to doing my audits, I've had to pull my I've either had to pull my MSSPs in and run them through the ringer and the questions posed by the auditors, where they have to provide the evidence that they're complying with the same set of rules and same set of controls that we have in place that we're required to work with. This partnership, we're actually able to ensure that the systems are implemented according to the control sets, and any regulatory or audit items that either CyberProof or Google are going through, they're lining up with our requirements. So they're sitting there with us, answering the questions, responding with the auditors, going through the walkthroughs, but they also have kind of tailored for us reports that show that they're meeting our requirements that also meet the regulatory requirements. Can you provide real-time collaboration and transparency in SecOps? We all know, and I think I saw a slide earlier in there, you know, the efficiency is horrible. This kind of goes into number 5, right? But you're spending 50% of your time trying to find the needle in the haystack. And why you should be able to just get to the data, right? It should be real time. It should be transparent. You should be able to tick and tie A to B to C to D all the way out to Z. And then of course the scalability, right? How fast can you move? How reliable is your information? I think a couple members of my SecOps team are probably sitting on this webinar, and if they're not, they're going to come back and listen to it, and going to say, they'll agree with me, they've been able to dig faster into investigations than what we were previously. So these are some of the things that you're going to want to ask any particular cyber vendor, whether you choose to go with CyberProof or Google SecOps or not. These are some of the things that you want to use to kind of frame your questions. With that, I am going to say thank you and turn this back over to Jonathan.
Thank you, Hans. That was fantastic. So we are going to go quickly back into the third poll. We're running out of time. I'm apologizing, and probably my co-presenters are going to be saying I told you so, but it means that we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and hopefully we'll be able to do more stuff in additional webinars coming in the future. So poll number 3 and the last one: how can we follow up with you after this webinar, if at all? Multiple choice. Number 1, please schedule a meeting with a cybersecurity expert. I have some questions. Answer option 2, I'd like a free threat exposure and defense readiness assessment. Puneet's going to be telling you about that in a second. Answer 3, I like the idea of a discovery workshop with an SME. Please contact me to discuss. Answer 4, please connect me with someone in your sales team to discuss an opportunity to work together. Answer 5, something else not covered above, please contact me and I will explain. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to leave that open for in case anyone wants to ask for us to contact them afterwards. And I will move on to, yes, Puneet, please take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan. Hi, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I'm Puneet Acharya, Security Solutions and Pre-Sales Architect here with CyberProof. And I'm excited to talk about our threat-led approach to our managed services. Right. So earlier this year, CyberProof acquired Enterprise Security. Now it's a Gartner recognized vendor in the CTEM space, which is Continuous Threat Exposure Management. Now this strategic moves strengthens CyberProof's ability to provide measurable and risk-optimized managed security services to our customers. Now, by integrating Enterprise in the way we deliver our services, which are managed services, CyberProof offers a streamlined and prioritized view of the customer's exposure and defenses against the most significant threats actors which are targeting their organizations, by taking into account the organizational security context, as well as the data that we pull in from the other threat intelligence platforms. So let's look into the platform on the next slide. So, one quick note on CTEM before we look at the architecture, right? While CTEM is a framework as defined by Gartner, which is similar to other frameworks like Zero Trust, right? Organizations often have to leverage multiple tools and sets and then develop some kind of an integration or processes on top of it to achieve these CTEM goals, right? However, we are the only CTEM platform as of now that can conduct an analysis across the multiple exposure elements, threat landscapes, attack surface, which includes your vulnerabilities, assets, and identity data, and defense surfaces to provide you with an end-to-end results. Now, how does it work? Like on the left-hand side of the architecture that you see, the platform starts by ingesting data from over 50 threat intelligence sources, including premium feeds like Mandiant and VirusTotal, as well as open source intelligence platforms. It also pulls in vulnerability data along with assets and identity information across your environment. Now, once that data is in, it builds a picture of the organizational context. That means understanding your unique threat landscape by integrating with your existing security tools or via read-only APIs. Now, this helps the platform to establish a threat profile, which includes the geo that you are in, the kind of data that you are consuming within your environment, whether it is PII, PHI, PCI. Also look at the security tools that you have in your environment, plus the size of your organization in terms of the number of resources. Well, all that data becomes a threat profile as an input to this tool. And by combining the TTP-based threat intelligence with the metadata from your environment, the platform then provides you with powerful analytics. And that's the AI part in the central center of that diagram, right? And you would get clear insights into the top threats which are targeting your organization, how exposed are your assets, and how vulnerabilities and identities contribute to the risk. And most importantly, the actionable recommendations to improve your defenses quickly at scale. So on the right-hand side, you have the outcomes and use cases, right? The first one is the defense readiness outcome. Now, one of the biggest challenges the organization faces knowing how prepared are you to defend against a new threat. Typically, that assessment would take days or even weeks. But with this platform, once the threat analysis is done and which is automated, you can get a readiness assessment within minutes or hours, but not in weeks, which we have seen that with other organizations which are struggling to do that, right? The second is the defense service optimization. Now, this gives you an ongoing visibility into your entire defensive ecosystem. You can easily identify where there are gaps and understand exactly what actions do you need to take in order to strengthen your defenses against the threats, right? Vulnerability prioritization is another outcome, right? So instead of drowning into vulnerabilities, that are listed in your platforms, this platform can bring in the prioritized set of vulnerabilities which needs to be patched first against the threats which matter the most to your organization. And finally, you have this continuous exposure analysis. Any drifts in your security environment and your controls are automatically picked up by the platform and are provided you as an analysis. And perhaps the most powerful aspect is it's not a one-time assessment. It's a continuous process. There's a feedback loop which through APIs that you have connected, various security tools from, that keeps a visibility on the current preparedness that you have against the threats on your organization. Okay. Moving on to the next one. So we have already covered the outcomes and the benefits that the platform brings to you. However, there are two things that I would like to mention. Again, it's a non-intrusive platform, which means we can integrate that using read-only APIs. Okay. And which can be, and we can stand up this instance in a couple of hours and generate results in a couple of days. So it's pretty quick, and we will see what are the resources we have for you if you're interested in this platform. Going to the next slide, Jonathan. Thank you. So before we wrap up, we would love to leave you with these resources that you see on the screen. You have the QR codes and links on the screen. The first one is on the extreme left is if you would like to get a quick feel of the platform, there is a self-guided tool that you can take. You can just click on the link and it would let you know where to click on the platform. So it gives you a kind of feel for the platform, right? The second is for those organizations that qualify, we are offering a 30-day free assessment. So we will set up the platform for the environment, integrate it with your security tool sets, and then provide a one-time assessment report on your organization's readiness against the real-world threats. And the third one is if you're interested to know more about the platform, and if you want to speak to our experts in CTEM space and see how we can bring in value to your existing SOC processes, you can schedule a meeting with our experts through that link. Again, feel free to scan the QR code. Okay. So I believe Jonathan is going to share this slide deck with you, so you would get those screenshots as well as the link.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Puneet, thank you. And sorry for making you run through this. We obviously, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of content. We'd be much happier to discuss it, personally with anybody who wants to reach out to us. I looked to see on the questions. I think most of them have been answered already. And in the interest of time, I think because we're running over time, we're going to cut this short. If there are any questions, now's a good time to throw them up before I close down the webinar, but I know that we're over time, and I apologize for that. I've put all of our emails here. I hopefully nobody minds that I've added their personal emails, but if you have any questions, we'd be very happy to hear from you. And the most important thing is that we appreciate you joining our webinar, because if you weren't joining the webinars, we wouldn't have any reason for being here. And so, in fact, you may be here to listen to us, but we're here in order to provide you with valuable information. And if we can help in any other way, please reach out to us. I can see that there are no new questions coming in that we haven't answered already. So I'm going to end the webinar, to thank Hans, Josh, our partner from Google, Greg and Puneet, my esteemed colleagues. And we look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to seeing you face to face. We'll be happy to help if there's anything we can help you with. And thank you again for joining the webinar. We'll be sending the slides and the video soon, thanks to our presenters.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.